travel commencing in T-minus 10 seconds and counting.
It's once again time to go back in time as we head back to the future on the WDW News Today podcast. Let's set our time coordinates for this week's trip through Disney Parks history with Professor Tom Corliss.
I don't mind, but you better promise me I'll be back in time.
It's time to go back!
Where, Tom? Where?
Back to the future, Jason! Right, to better understand where the Disney parks are heading in the future, we need to look at past attractions, current favorites, and in this case, maybe some favorites that are going to be going away this week, in fact. Joining me for the segment, Nicholas Cicero.
Hey, everyone.
David Smith.
Hey there.
And Jason Diffendahl.
Hey, howdy, hey.
We also got Michael Batista working the controls for our multimedia experience, so all the video and photos and everything. Michael's going to be on top of that. Michael's also dressed as Marty McFly. I don't know what he's doing. Oh, and there's his flux capacitor. Man, that looks beautiful on Google Hangouts, just a white blur. It's like an on-ride video of Flight of Passage. It's going to be great. All right, well, so this week on Thursday, after 13 years, we're going to say goodbye to one of the most quintessential nighttime shows in the history of the Disney theme parks. Wishes is going to be going away. And, of course, on Friday, what's being touted as the most technologically advanced nighttime fireworks show ever put on by Disney, Happily Ever After, will debut at the Magic Kingdom. In honor of all that, we thought it might be a good time to look back at the history of fireworks shows at the Disney parks, focusing on the Magic Kingdom, but we are going to make some other stops because we have to have a better understanding of exactly how things came to be. So we are going to stop at Disneyland. We're going to stop at a couple other parks around Walt Disney World as well for a little bit, but we're going to try and give you the full story of how Wishes came to be and how we've gotten to the point where we are with Happily Ever After coming up on Friday. Is everybody ready?
Yeah.
All right,
ready,
everybody. Let's set those time coordinates for 1956, and you could turn down that background music, maybe. Fantasy in the Sky is loud. So we're going back to 1956. At the time, believe it or not, Disneyland didn't open with a fireworks show. So you have Walt Disney's on TV every Sunday with this Disneyland TV show. Tinkerbell's doing all this stuff with the castle, but the park doesn't have a fireworks show. So in 56, Walt is sitting there. He's going, we got to do something to keep people in the park late at night. It's not like today. Today, people stay till park close. People don't necessarily show up when a park opens, but most people will stay till park close. The nighttime shows are obviously a big part of that, but back then, theme parks were new. People didn't really understand the concept all that well. And the park didn't have as much to do as it does now. So people would leave early. It'd be like Animal Kingdom. People leave like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and go to Garden Walk.
and not to mention, if you're dealing with tickets and you run out of tickets, there's not a whole lot of reason to stick around anyway.
Yeah, that was the other thing. That's true. It wasn't just paid admission and you could do everything. You had to buy tickets, and that's right. I mean, people back then probably bought a ticket book and maybe they splurged on a second one, but at that point they probably were like, all right, we're out of tickets, time to go home. It's a very different dynamic than today. It's a good point. Walt said, let's do nightly fireworks. In 56, he said, let's start doing this. Let's get people to stay later into the night. Early shows were performed by having cast members manually launch fireworks with railroad flares. So
is that really safe?
It's 1950s Disneyland. Is anything safe? The answer is no. There's also people making out and doing other things up on a hill. That's what they do. They light the flares and they go scare the people off a Holiday Hill, and then they go light the fireworks with it.
Well, you did have date night at Disneyland, so
yeah. They were manually launched. So there's guys, and there's video. If you look, I've actually found some video of them doing it in the 90s. They show them running from launch to launch. And in the 90s, it's weird because you have the music soundtrack. So there's this music playing, and they're trying to manually sync fireworks to music, basically. So not in the same way you're thinking now, in that you hear a musical cue, and that would be the pop of the firework, but there's a particular song, and maybe there's certain colored fireworks or something they want to set up for that. So they have this one section of all the fireworks for that part of the show, and that's what they're lighting. And then once they hear the music change, they're like, all right, we're done. And they run over to the next one and start lighting those.
Oh my goodness.
That's the 50s, man.
So it's like 4th of July with my family out in the backyard, just people with fireworks setting them off.
Correct.
But
There you go. There's a picture of from the 50s.
Oh, look at that.
Fireworks at Disneyland. Although probably early Photoshop. Because it probably never really looked like that perfect behind the castle. So, just line up 2 images and put it out as the press photo.
They have Tinkerbell up there.
They do. We're going to get to that in a moment. So from the moment they started doing fireworks, extremely popular. People loved it. Became a vital component of the Disneyland experience. So much so that an entire generation of people, again, would see that as the opening to the wonderful world of Disney and the wonderful world of color. Tinkerbell and those fireworks going off behind Sleeping Beauty Castle it's essentially the icon of the company. Because you think about it, even in later years, sure, Wonderful World of Disney changed, but the castle with fireworks is so iconic of the company in general.
It is. And I mean, that's such a perfect backdrop to fireworks. You couldn't ask for a better backdrop.
For the castle, those fire. Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the most picturesque things on this planet. You got this beautiful castle, and then there's beautiful fireworks going off behind it. I mean, it seems pretty natural. It's hard to believe in 55 no one thought about it, but I mean, they're probably so worried with actually getting the park open and functioning at the time that it was like, all right, now let's have those guys run around and set off dangerous fireworks. Now that the pack mules are working, so in 1958 is when the show became dubbed Fantasy in the Sky, which became the name for a very, very long time, as we'll get to. And it would remain synonymous with Disney fireworks, even still till today. People know that name, Fantasy in the Sky. In 1959, Walt wanted to bring the TV show opening to life, so he let Tinkerbell fly during the nightly spectacular. Why did they not have this till 1959? Because, well, where would Tinkerbell jump from? There was no tall structures for Tinkerbell to begin her flight from prior to 1959. What opened in 1959? The Matterhorn. And that's why Tinkerbell, to keep the magic, she needs a real tall place to jump from, kids, to get a start. So, the Matterhorn.
And the castle at Disneyland is not tall enough.
No, she needed.
It is at Walt Disney World.
She needed to jump and get a head start from the Matterhorn. So, yeah. The original Tinkerbell was portrayed by 70-year-old Tiny Klein. Because she was small enough, it didn't weigh very much. They put her out on the wire, and Tinkerbell flew over Disneyland. And it's hard to believe, we'll talk about it. It doesn't even debut with the Magic Kingdom. It's unbelievable how many years later it takes for them to add Tinkerbell flying to the Magic Kingdom. But
now,
1959, it starts at Disneyland.
From this point, was it every performance?
Yeah. But you got to remember, they weren't nightly back then.
Mm-hmm.
Weekends and holidays, typically. Okay. And I'm not even sure it was all weekends. Probably off-season weekends. They probably didn't bother.
So it's just like a special thing. Hey,
yeah, you got to remember, Disneyland was closed. What was it, on Mondays or Tuesdays?
Yeah. It was closed during the week.
What it was, there was always a weekday they were closed, if not 2, depending on the time of year. Very different time at Disneyland. And again, fireworks were a special thing. Not necessarily every night. So to give you an idea what the music was, they did have music starting in 58. And from 1958 to 1966, the music you would have heard during the fireworks would be Hi Ho from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the Mickey Mouse Club March, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, Whistle While You Work, and You Can Fly from Peter Pan.
I wonder what the sound system was like back then.
I assume just playing a record over the PA system.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty much it. And then they changed the show in 1966, and it actually stayed that way until even after it was retired. It came back for a couple performances later. But 1966 to 2003 was Zippity Doo-Dah, A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes. There was then a Mary Poppins segment, which had Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious and Let's Go Fly a Kite. It's a Small World After All, which it's funny, 1966, that's when that opened at Disneyland. It was immediately in the fireworks that year. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, they had Whistle While You Work and Hi Ho, the Mickey Mouse Club March, and because every nighttime show for some reason had to end this way, the patriotic song ended.
Wow.
Fantasy in the Sky. So, yeah, When You Wish Upon a Star, not even in the show. The song that is synonymous with Disney fireworks, not even in the show.
And this lineup stayed the same for all those decades?
1966 to 2003. Now, mind you, from like 99 to 03, that's just like New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the music stayed.
Wow.
Yeah. Of course, what's interesting is Fantasy in the Sky actually came back recently, and even recently, they pretty much stayed with that original song listing. How crazy is that? The only thing they did when the recent comeback, Zippity Doo-Dah moved to the end of the show and replaced the patriotic song because they realized no one wanted American music to end their Disney fireworks show. Take notes, MSEP, please. So yeah, that's Disneyland. I mean, it didn't change a whole lot over time, and that's really all there's to say about it. But people were just happy that there were fireworks. People didn't know any better. I mean, technology didn't go much further, and people didn't think anything of it.
Now, during the 66 to 03, did the technology progress where they did try to sync up like actual cues to the?
Nope.
Not really. No.
We'll talk about when they get to that technology, but surprisingly, that was still a ways away.
But in 2003, there wasn't still a guy with a
no. So
right.
They did when the new shows, because new shows debuted starting in 2000.
Yeah.
From that point on, Fantasy in the Sky, when it performed, which was pretty much just New Year's Eve, was actually automated.
Wait, so in the 90s, it wasn't. There was a guy like with manually setting off fireworks.
Correct.
Yeah,
I mean, they were multiple guys.
Really?
It's a team of.
They weren't. It wasn't a handheld launch at that point.
Right.
They were gunpowder launched out of a tube.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of guys behind the park running back and forth, light and stuff.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, that's how all fireworks shows were done up until the 90s. Was you had these mortar tubes that you sort of half buried in the ground, and you would put the launch pack, and then you would put the firework in the tube, and you'd light them, and then it would explode. That's pretty much standard fireworks technology from the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. How technical.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, Disney invented the air launch fireworks. And it wasn't until air launch fireworks that they could really be automated. So back with the black powder launch cannons, it was that was the way to do it. It was manual lighting, and then you'd run away. So if there was there's going to be 6 going off simultaneously, you had 6 guys all lighting them at the same time.
Yeah. And I can understand why people think like, oh, that seems so archaic for the time. But you got to remember, in the 1960s, Disneyland had robots synchronized to sound, but still not fireworks synchronized to music. But you have to understand, if the robot breaks, he's going to leak some fluid. The fireworks system breaks, something's getting lit in fire. It's going to be slightly more dangerous, folks. So when you automate fireworks, you want to make sure that's going to work. We're talking about something explosive versus something that's going to shoot hydraulic fluid at you. It's a little different. So, but then we get to the Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom opens in 1971. When they opened, there was no regular fireworks show. See, somehow, even after all these years, even though Magic Kingdom, even though Disneyland's been doing fireworks all these years, Magic Kingdom doesn't open with a fireworks show. They just had these special shows that performed on certain evenings and holidays that either took place over the skies of the Magic Kingdom or in some cases even over the Seven Seas Lagoon. So they did fireworks shows out on the Seven Seas Lagoon on some nights. In fact, in 1972, when Fantasy in the Sky premiered, it premiered above the Seven Seas Lagoon. The show was not even in the park in 1972.
That's kind of cool for the people that stayed at the Polynesian and Contemporary.
Yeah.
It sucks for the people that were in the park, but you got to remember too,
but then
though
they could stand out on the boat dock.
Well, sure, and I mean that's the thing is you didn't pay a single price admission to the park, so you spent your tickets, and then afterwards you would head out to the front of the park in the boat dock to watch the fireworks. It was kind of the way to close the night, and it actually makes a lot of sense because you close the park and get everybody out, as opposed to close the park and then everybody watches fireworks for half an hour, and then there's a mass exodus and crazy traffic jams.
Yeah.
So it worked to empty the park at park close, and people lined up out there, and then they dispersed to the transportation and ticket center or to their hotels or whatever.
Yeah. But then to undo that, in 1973, the show moved to the launch site 1/3 of a mile north of the Magic Kingdom. And this show would run until 1976 when the bicentennial celebration took over. And that was the original Fantasy in the Sky, which shared the soundtrack from Disneyland, the same soundtrack.
And that launch site that's 1/3 of the mile north, that's the same launch site they use today.
It's still there. It's still the same one.
For most of the bigger fireworks, other than the ones they launched from the roofs in Fantasyland.
Yes. But you got to remember back then, again, featured manually launched fireworks. There were no in-park effects. So there's no fireworks going off from inside the park. There's no lighting effects on Cinderella Castle. You know what they do in 1973, kids? They turn off the lights on the castle. That's what happened. So the castle's pitch black. They just leave those window lights on, so you see the big yellow windows lit up. And the castle's pitch black, and fireworks going off.
Nice silhouette.
Yeah.
It was a nice, Yeah,
they didn't even think about lighting the castle with it, which is such a cool thing in the shows now, but the castle's just off. Here, kids, enjoy. You want to see fireworks. You don't want to see the castle. You saw the castle all day. You want to see fireworks.
You would think you would see some of the castle when the fireworks go off.
They're so far away. I'm not sure that much lights. Also, they're
behind it.
Yeah.
So maybe if you're in Fantasyland back there, then you're going to see that castle.
Well, that's what I mean. I guess you're seeing a nice silhouette of the castle against the fireworks. It probably looks nice.
That was the thought.
That's what you're seeing. And I mean, you also got to remember the fireworks back then. There weren't all these special ones that make like faces and cubes. I mean, they're just big launched fireworks. They were
big colored fireworks. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, they're all fairly high up. They're not many of these low ones, the fancy ones. They're all pretty high up.
What you're seeing behind Jason, you're going to eliminate all 8 of those sides, and then that's the show. That's the show.
Those are the ones you would see.
That's it. 2 finger point, Jason. There we go.
There you go. Just those, not these.
And that's all people saw until 1985 when they added the first in-park effect. On July 3rd, in 1985, the Flight of Tinkerbell was added to the show. Illuminated by lights on her and follow spotlights, Tinkerbell flies 135 feet above the park. She flies 720 feet onto the roof of the Tomorrowland Terrace building, landing on a special base, and most often caught by a mattress. That's a real thing.
Yep. She had no way. They had no way to slow her down.
Yeah. So there's a guy standing there with a mattress.
There's actually usually two guys standing there with a mattress, and they basically sort of catch her on the mattress to slow her down.
I think it's also a thing they do on OBT. Oh, man. Anyway, this isn't news tonight.
Yeah, I didn't know we had the OBT joke of the week.
It was too easy. Talking about a woman being caught in a mattress. I mean, you set me up for that one. But yeah, and what's funny is the first time someone ever told me that, I really tried to stand in a spot where you could see it. And some nights you could kind of see it happen, and it's really funny.
Yep.
It's kind of like when they throw the sheet over Ariel in Fantasmic. Just you kind of watch it happen. You're like, oh, okay. Anyway, so Fantasy in the Sky did do some other changes over time, adding and removing songs, changing firework technology, but regardless, the show continued to age. The first version I vividly remember is this one, the 25th anniversary version, which had basically the Disneyland show with some differences. It opened with When You Wish Upon a Star, which is, I think, why a lot of people associate that song with the fireworks. Zippity Doo Dah, Dream is Wish Your Heart Makes. They had the Mary Poppins songs, Small World, the songs from Snow White, Mickey Mouse March, all that same stuff from Disneyland in the middle. And then it would end with the 25th anniversary theme song, Remember the Magic. Not the slow, who's that? Who was that? Brian? It wasn't Brian McKnight.
Brian McKnight.
Yeah, it was Brian McKnight. Not that slow one from the album, the upbeat version that was also in the parade. They had a slightly different upbeat version. That would be it was the first tag they ever did for a Magic Kingdom show, 1996 for the 25th anniversary. It's the first one I vividly remember. It was a pretty cool tag. I remember liking that a lot. And this is around the time when, for the first time ever, the show is synchronized with a musical score using computer chips dropped in. I didn't even know this was how they did it. It's not like just a timed launch. There are computer chips dropped into the shells, which then the computer reads and it knows that's the one to fire, which is way more complicated than I thought it actually was.
You thought maybe it was just timed?
I thought you just put them in the tube and it knows based on the time in the show when to fire. I didn't know it was so complicated.
I think there's fireworks. I think there's computer chips in the firework itself.
Yeah.
So that it explodes at precisely the right moment.
Oh, maybe that's part of it too. But it also tells it when to launch, supposedly, according to the video.
Well, I mean, you have to launch it with plus or minus a couple seconds from when you need to. Yeah. But the explosion at precisely the right moment is what's critical.
Yeah.
So I believe there were like radio frequency chips in the shell that would make it explode at the right time. Yeah. And that's how you got 3 or 4 or 5 exploding at the same time.
Yeah. And what you're seeing right now in the video presentation, this is the modern version of Fantasy in the Sky, which is actually automated. The New Year's Eve version, so you may see some stuff that wasn't in that show, but nonetheless. So for the first time ever again, it was synchronized to musical score. In-park lighting effects on Cinderella Castle using color-changing floodlights introduced. They also had strobe lights and moving head gobos. This is all completely new for the show, and this is that 1999 version, which is the soundtrack that most of you are probably familiar with today, which has Second Star to the Right, You Can Fly, I've Got No Strings, the Small World song, Grim Grinning Ghosts, The Ballad of Davy Crockett, Pirate's Life for Me, Under the Sea, A Whole New World, When You Wish Upon a Star, and then the reprise of A Whole New World. And again, a large portion of this is still used for New Year's Eve today, December 30th and 31st. Modified version, but Fantasy in the Sky still an annual tradition, at least, at Walt Disney World. This is the show. This is the first show I'm really familiar with. I have vague memories of the 25th show, but I remember this Fantasy in the Sky, and I remember it being a big deal that it was synchronized to music, and I remember thinking even as a kid how cool that was.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, 96 was about the forefront of that technology. Yeah. You would have thought it was much earlier than that, but that's pretty much.
Well, this is 99. Because this version of Fantasy debuts in 99, yeah.
96 was the first point they could synchronize. They synchronized. Yeah. So, late 90s is when that technology existed. Mm-hmm. And that's the same reason why Illuminations got redone. Because that's that same 25. Technology. Yes, exactly. Yeah. The same exact technology was able to be used for Illuminations 25.
And then I think that's what kind of ruined Fantasy in the Sky for me. I thought Illuminations 25 was the coolest thing ever in 1996. Like I thought that show was fantastic. And then you saw Fantasy in the Sky, and you're like, oh, that's still great, but the timed fireworks over the lagoon was just an infinitely
Well, that's the thing is over the lagoon, they're so much closer to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's kind of amazing about Illumination's fireworks is that they're really close to you compared to the Magic Kingdom fireworks.
Yeah.
And I'll watch Magic Kingdom fireworks from Fantasyland.
And at this point, there's
really
still no
cool.
rooftop launches, you got to remember. So the Magic Kingdom show is still, even though it's synchronized, it's still all back there. So you're seeing the modern Fantasy in the Sky right now, but that added, because of Wishes, that added those rooftop effects.
Yeah, I would watch Fantasy in the Sky from Fantasyland because you were that much closer. It was really cool to be that close.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't get the castle as the backdrop, but it was cool to be much closer.
Yeah. So the other cool thing was sometimes the show wouldn't just be back there. Sometimes the show would be made larger via perimeter firework launchers for special occasions, such as New Year's Eve. As well, 4th of July, they do it. And then there were some other special occasions. Walt Disney World's 20th anniversary in 1991 was one of those evenings where they used the perimeters. And those were, for interesting, we'll talk about this first. For perimeter effects, they run sprinkler lines out to where these perimeters are, which usually they're all around the Walt Disney World Railroad track area. So the railroad would have to go down for this. The perimeters would use Firelight local software linked via radio to DAX for timecode sync. DAX, of course, is the computer control center, basically, for most of the Magic Kingdom. And so these are linked via radio. I don't know if they still do that. They probably still do that now, honestly. But
no, they're definitely all have to be linked, and I think I'm pretty sure they're not wireless.
Yeah, no, I don't think they've moved on technology-wise yet. Even for Happily Ever After, I don't think that's necessarily going to be a thing yet.
No, and I mean they use the perimeters so infrequently.
Yeah,
in most cases, they're really cool.
Yeah. So originally it was 360-degree perimeter fireworks. They were turned into 180. So transportation around the park could continue to function. You had to shut down so much of the watercraft and everything to run that full 360 show that eventually they decided it's best just to do a 180. The seasonal shows use 8 additional launch sites, while New Year's Eve and 4th of July add the 9th, the mirror launch on an island in the Seven Seas Lagoon, out where the wave machine once was. And the island has a phone line where a modem is used to synchronize it to the rest of the show. Cutting edge,
technology.
Kids.
Yep.
Yes.
Modem. Go look it up.
Yeah.
Not a cable modem. We're not connecting to Bright House here.
No, this is old school modem.
Old school. I'm amazed that they ran a telephone line out to the island.
Right?
That's
I guess
pretty
they
crazy.
thought in case we ever do anything on this island, it's best to have wiring to it. Because I bet there's got to be electrical out there too.
Yeah,
probably because they have all the machine, I bet.
So they got a modem.
Yeah, so that they thought ahead and thought, if we ever do anything on this island at some point in time, we need to make sure, since we're putting all this water in between, we better make sure that everything's already run here just in case. So that's how perimeters work, kids. But the 360 is the best. I love Magic Kingdom New Year's Eve. I know locals, all my local friends love Epcot New Year's Eve. Magic Kingdom New Year's Eve is still the best. That 360 standing on Main Street and looking behind and seeing it's just the full circle around your fireworks is the coolest thing. And then there are New Year's Eves where we stayed at the hotel, like we stayed at the Grand Floridian, and we just sat at the Grand Floridian watching that from any angle. That full 360 is so neat.
It's amazing. It's
so cool. And I will say this, if you ever do get the chance to book a New Year's Eve trip to Walt Disney World, do it. And I know it's a lot of people don't like waiting and stuff, but park on Main Street for a couple hours, do New Year's Eve at Magic Kingdom. It's something you should do at least once in your lifetime. It's really special and wonderful. I love it.
The 360 perimeters are a fireworks experience that really tops almost everything else.
Yeah. No, it's a real nice way to spend New Year's Eve.
Yeah, New Year's Eve at the Magic Kingdom, and you know I did Epcot once for New Year's Eve, and I wasn't as impressed as I was the Magic Kingdom. And
it's cool, but all I could think of the whole time was
I
Magic
wish I
Kingdom
was over there. Yeah.
So my key would be, if you do want to do both in your lifetime, do Epcot first.
Oh yeah,
because Epcot is neat. I love that they do the fireworks over the individual countries. It's
right,
really cool.
No, that's good.
But you really should do Epcot first and then go see the Magic Kingdom show, because otherwise it's going to be ruined for you.
I like Epcot on the 4th of July. Fireworks there.
That's neat. Yeah.
But
I still like the Magic Kingdom one. But yeah, I'd probably pick Epcot for 4th and Magic Kingdom for New Year's.
That's what I was going to ask, was which one's better for 4th of July and which one's better for New Year's?
Yeah, I think I agree with Nick.
Do they run the exact same show? Do they run the exact same show on December 30th?
They usually do.
Magic Kingdom runs the 30th and 31st. Epcot does not. That's the problem. So you could go see Magic Kingdom on the 30th.
Mm-hmm.
On the 30th.
And then go to Epcot on the 31st.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we did a couple of years ago when we were down there for New Year's.
Yeah, which is smart. I mean, you get the most out of it, but I will tell you, Magic Kingdom will ruin Epcot. So now we're going to go, we're punching those time coordinates for the year 2000, and we're going to Disneyland. Why are we going to Disneyland? Well, on February 18th, 2000, Believe There's Magic in the Stars premiered at Disneyland. Michael, you can pull up that video now. Premiered at Disneyland. This is the show that would define the modern Disney parks fireworks spectacular. This is pretty much where it all begins, folks. You know, you can let it play from there, Michael. We're going to talk about this for a couple minutes. This would be the first show with a rough storyline. Oh, you got to mute it, Michael. It's not going to play well through that. You can kind of hear it. Anyway, Michael, turn that down. Thank you. This would be the first show with a rough storyline. New music was composed with the fireworks in mind. Completely new shells developed to fit the show. And the show also introduced the in-park launches in a Magic Kingdom style park, bringing the fireworks closer to guests. And the reason I say introduced in a Magic Kingdom style park was in-park launches did exist. Out of necessity, the Disney MGM Studios had them for Sorcery in the Sky, where they used seven in-park launch sites for that show. And then a similar problem, Euro Disney could not have high-level pyrotechnics due to local laws, so they had to use all in-park launches. And what's funny is later they'd run into the same problems at Hong Kong Disneyland. It's unclear when Tokyo began fireworks, but they also have similar bylaws there as well. So Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Disneyland Paris have to in-park in-park low-level launches. They can't do big fireworks. Paris can do it on holidays. Your Parisian holidays do allow those high-level fireworks. But they realized using this combination of in-park launches and the main launches would create this depth to the show. Then also doing some lighting on the castle, doing some different things, creating a score with those bursts and different kinds of pyrotechnics in mind. And they built this show out, and Believe really is the beginning of the modern fireworks show. People were stunned when they saw this in 2000. It wasn't about just having fireworks timed to music, which this was, in fairness, the first one at Disneyland to do that, but it was also this combination of other things that were also introduced simultaneously. That, and honestly, I got to tell you, I think Believe has a pretty kick-ass soundtrack. Maybe David, did you live out there at this time? Do you remember Believe at all?
I remember it. I didn't live out there, but it was certainly one of my favorite fireworks shows, there in Disneyland, because of what you said, the fact that it synced everything together. It provided such a large palette for the team to work on between the castle and the fireworks and the music. It brought it all together. And, this is only about, say, 3 or 4 years after the fireworks industry itself was revolutionized by computer controls and doing specialized shell designs so that you had very specific burst patterns, things like that. I mean, prior to this, probably your big fireworks shows, if you think about the 4th of July fireworks or the Statue of Liberty in 86, they were all still pretty much round shells, and the only variance was color. But now you're starting to get very, very specific patterns, as well as very specific timing of launches, so that you got shells really interacting with each other.
Or maybe even make a big hidden Mickey.
Yes, exactly.
Which I think my mind is still blown every time I see that Mickey. Like, I can't understand how that always works.
Drones.
How does that always work? But I guess that's why they canceled the show 90% of the time out there, right? A little bit of wind, and that Mickey's going to look like something completely different, and it's going to end up in a neighbor's yard. So,
yeah.
So there you see some of those. If you're watching the video version, you'll see those in-park launches. So remember, before 2000, that didn't exist. What is a staple of those shows? Those multicolor, those little, I don't even know what you call those, but just the little balls of light that kind of go up. All that stuff doesn't exist before that point. It's only, we're only talking 17 years ago, not a tremendous amount of time. But yeah. And then Disneyland, of course, always with that off-center launch site. How wonderful. There's I think we just saw the Mickey. But anyway. Yeah, so that's Believe. Changed the game forever in 2000. So coming off of Believe, the team that worked on that show decided Magic Kingdom was next. And so in late 2002, Disney began developing a new show for the Magic Kingdom. Development was supervised by Steve Davison and designer Eric Tucker, who also helped design parts of Illumination's Reflections of Earth. They worked with the team on that, and of course also worked on Believe. The working title for the show was Wishes, a magical reunion of childhood dreams. Not that the title they landed on was much better. I mean, Wishes, a magical gathering of Disney dreams, which really just tied into, a lot of people don't remember this. Magical Gathering, the whole reason that's in the name is that was literally the celebration that year. The celebration was called Magical Gatherings. And it was a promotional campaign to advertise that Walt Disney World specialized in vacations for large groups, family reunions, large get-togethers. It was this whole campaign where they had a special website where if you're going with a large group, they had all these new special planning tools. And that's all these things that you take for granted today in My Disney Experience when they actually work.
So it wasn't that the card game was really popular in 2003?
Oh, wow. Wow. Not Magic the Gathering.
Oh my
Magical Gathering. Wow.
And I mean, that's where the Wishes fireworks cruise actually started, because you could book Wishes fireworks cruises. That was an exclusive thing you could only book if you were doing a Magical Gathering.
Yeah.
That was one of the perks for big
groups.
What
were the other ones? There was the Tony's Breakfast. Tony's Breakfast, then there was the Safari thing. I don't remember what the Safari
there was
thing
a Safari as well.
Yeah.
Yep. There was it might have been the Sunrise Safari.
And then Illuminations. The only reason I remember the 4 is they did pins.
I'm remembering
there were
this
pins
now.
that were given out.
Yep.
And it was the Illuminations, Tony's, the Wishes Cruise, and the Safari.
There was a Safari one, yeah.
Yeah. They're very common pins on lanyards for a long time.
Yep. Sure were.
Yeah. So Wishes ended up getting roped into this celebration because they didn't really have anything else going on. It was, it was Wishes, PhilharMagic, and Mission Space, and Pop Century, which all happened to debut at the same time. All got roped into that. The new show would require significant investments in new hardware to make it a reality. 10 rooftop launch platforms, all weatherproof and large enough to contain the shells needed, were installed in Fantasyland on the rooftops. Fire prevention and suppression equipment was also installed on the rooftops. You may know what we're talking about here. If you've ever been to Fantasyland and wonder why it's raining on a clear night after fireworks, that's actually just that suppression system, sprinkler system shooting off on you.
Fire suppression systems, a.k.a. lawn sprinkler hooked up to a hose.
Pretty much. That spills over the roof every night.
Yep.
Yeah. Over 360 individual shells alone are fired from the rooftops. Just the rooftops. Every night, 360 individual shells. The main launch site behind the park was also modified to use 63 launch units. These units fire another 314 shells during each show. And this is why at the time Disney became the #1 pyrotechnics consumer in the world, a title they still hold, and because they keep building parks, will probably hold for a very, very long time to come.
Well, and this was also Wishes played nightly.
Yeah, it was a first. Yeah, this
was the very first Magic Kingdom fireworks show to play every night of the week.
And you got to remember, so Spectro Magic at this time is not nightly. Spectro Magic was Tuesdays and Saturdays. Just Tuesdays and Saturdays, unless it was like Christmas week. But Wishes was every night.
Yep.
It's a very different time in the early 2000s, folks. A very different time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember we made a trip down in February of 2004. We stayed at Pop Century and we did Wishes. There was actually a pin and merchandise event called This Is Love.
Love, yeah.
With it was right around
I was gonna say when you said February 2004, it's like I was here. Why was I here?
Yeah, you were here for the This Is Love event, which was in the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
That was an after-hours Magic Kingdom event where we had our own special presentation of Wishes just for the event.
Yeah, that was a good event. There was a dinner, right?
There was a dinner, yes, because we ate at Cosmic Rays.
Yeah.
Or no, it was outside of Cosmic Rays.
Yeah.
They had like 10-seater round tables.
That's back when they used to really try.
Yeah. They had 10-seater round tables set up outside of Cosmic Rays, between Cosmic Rays and the Speedway.
Yeah.
And then they had entertainment going on in Fantasyland and things like that.
We maybe need to do a history of the pin event at some point. That may be one to do.
Maybe when we can find John Rick.
Yeah, we'll find John. He's around.
But yeah, that was a very good event.
Yeah. Look at those hearts. Where are we here?
Yeah, you can see the hearts in the fireworks.
Yeah, hearts and faces and all those things. Still fairly new at the time. The Northeast Hub shelter used for Castle stage shows was made the in-park control booth for the show using Fire One software, which ran on it was a Windows program. Both launch sites both of the launch sites would receive a time code signal from DAX to keep the show in sync. The 2001 lighting system upgrades for Cinderella Castle were reprogrammed and new effects included. The show, hosted by Jiminy Cricket, an extension of Spectro Magic, which was also hosted by Jiminy Cricket, made sense. Everything tied together. This one also brought in the Blue Fairy and revolved around the wishes of famous Disney characters, good and bad, coming true. During different parts of the show, a wishing star fireworks shoots, cresting approximately 100 feet above the castle's bright spires. Wishes began testing in the late summer of 2003 and debuted on October 9th, 2003, clocking in at 12 minutes long. So Wishes, again, because I hadn't been to Disneyland, I wasn't traveling to Disneyland back then. Wishes was my first of the modern fireworks shows. And I remember seeing it for the first time during those test runs in 2003 and being absolutely blown away. Not even just by how fantastic the effects were in the lighting. I remember the first time seeing the Sorcerer's Hat. When they do the Sorcerer's Hat projection of the castle and the bright red flares and seeing that part and going, this is the coolest thing. The show was really amazing. But not only that, it was really great. Like it had a great selection of music, good characters, and the music was really emotional and touching. And not only was it technologically amazing, but it actually really grabbed your emotions, which I think is why Wishes is so special. It combined what I think all the great Disney offerings over time have. Not only are they technologically impressive, but they also emotionally grab you.
And that's the thing, it's funny going over this because it is Wishes where for the first time I wanted to go see fireworks at the Magic Kingdom for the experience and not just for the fireworks themselves. Like it made it turned it into something else, and I didn't really know why that was until we kind of went over this history of it here, because I remember in the late 90s when I was going to college here, and I would go to the parks, and I wouldn't really care about the fireworks. I wouldn't really need to stay to see it. It wasn't an event. It was a thing we had to do. And then it was probably right around 2004 where someone was like, well, let's go see the fireworks. So I was like, why? I've seen it a million. I really didn't realize that they had changed it at that point.
Yeah.
And no, they were like, no, it's new. You gotta check it out. And it's this new thing. And I went, and I was blown away. I'd never, experienced something like that before. And I was like, this is an event now. This is staying for the fireworks is an event, because we're getting that kind of Disney storytelling thing, and not just listening to music and watching things explode in the air, which is fun, but it was just a different thing. And so before then, the only event stuff I'd go to were the holidays, were the 4th of July, New Year's, stuff like that. And then this changed everything. Yeah. And now it all makes sense. I really didn't. I didn't realize like how much of a leap this was. I didn't realize that
projection mapping, not a thing. Yeah. So when we saw, I know it's real simple now, but you see the blue lights and then the white stars and the white moon making the sorcerer's hat, like that at the time is mind blowing.
Yeah.
The magic mirror and the face appearing on the side of the castle, mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like we had not seen that before. Heart-shaped fireworks. I'd never seen that. I don't know how they were doing that. How are their faces?
The cubes and the faces.
Yeah, and you have no idea that at that time you never, even Illuminations though, what was neat was it was so different from Illuminations, which we had Reflections of Earth, which is a fantastic show, but it was so different in that it had these things that stood out, and both were these two completely different shows developed around the same time. But Wishes had all these neat projection tricks and these neat pyrotechnics that made shapes and things like that. But then you go to Illuminations and you see all different kinds of things, like a globe open and explode in the middle and this inferno barge, and they were both just very unique and different and both wonderful and utilizing the best of the technology at the time.
And I think you said this earlier, but it really should be emphasized that the technology advancements they made for Wishes were really so much in service of the emotional impact of the show. Mm-hmm. Just using the different combination of shell types and the timing of them, they were able to express, whimsy. They were able to express playfulness, and when it was called for in the music, they were able to express surprise when the genie would appear. And then the grandeur of those final huge shells, that are just overwhelming the castle. It really does take you through the range of emotions that were being backed up by the music. And it's amazing to think that they did that with, fireworks, because like Nick said, previous to this, fireworks were about, the spectacular explosions, not necessarily about trying to take you on a journey through an emotional story.
Yeah. And I think, that's the hallmark of Steve Davidson shows. Because I think about the first time I saw Wishes and the first time I saw World of Color. It's that same thing. World of Color is the show that technologically is so impressive. But I remember standing there that first show and all the people tearing up, when Simba yells, for his father, and all the people tearing up and then, like weeping through that, through the Enchanted song portion. With the couples, and I think about seeing Wishes for the first time, and it's just, I think Steve has such a grasp on not only we got to do all this technology, but I think he understands the Disney brand better than anyone else at Imagineering, and understands what parts of what movies and what characters speak to people, and he has this innate ability to put them in the right places at the right times with the right musical cues. And I think Wishes and World of Color, I always feel the same, that it just at the right times it hits the right emotions, and it's so much of those music choices, those character choices, and when you use them. And I think every Steve Davison nighttime show I've seen, even Disneyland Forever, for all the problems I thought it had, it still I think had some moments where I could see that. Peter Pan talking about the park and all this is yours forever, and people it's still emotionally grabs you. While I think the show had some issues here or there, it it still had those hallmarks. But regardless, uh, yeah. So Wishes is of course finally coming to an end now. So maybe it might be good to pause in the segment here for a moment and just talk about what we really like about the show. I think one of the things that you really got to talk about the show is the original music. And the opening and close of the song, the show, that theme song for Wishes, which you already have this fantastic library of Disney music, and you could just use When You Wish Upon a Star, but to use this, come up with an original song that gets the idea of the show, these childhood wishes and these kids singing, about wishing on a star, and it ties into When You Wish Upon a Star so wonderfully, and especially when the two mix at the end. Like, this song's going to be remembered forever. And again, the show only lasted 13 years, but I wouldn't be surprised if for a long, long time to come, people still remember that Wishes theme song. I guess everyone agrees. All right. For me, I think that's where I'm going to miss the most is the theme song. And especially, I love another thing they introduced around that time is playoff music. I love playoff music. I think it's so nice after a show concludes. Like, I love it. Fantasmic. You have the theme playing afterward. Wishes with that theme that what's the word I'm looking for here? The duet of Wishes, the ballad duet at the end. I think is perfect because you've just seen this amazing show, and then to have these two people singing the theme song as you walk out, there's just something so perfect about it. And that's why walk-off songs have become such a staple since Fantasmic.
And World of Color too. World of
Color has the theme, and I it's hard to think of a show that doesn't, even Rivers of Light, as much as I don't really care for that show, has walk-off music, and it's actually pretty good. I like the walk-off music. So another staple introduced for Wishes, and I think that's the part I actually am going to miss the most. I know when I'm going to lose it on Thursday, and it's during the walk-off. I know for sure when we hit that last guitar solo, I'm going to lose it.
So I'll be honest, I don't know if I really care for the theme song, Wishes.
What?
Yeah. I'm definitely in the minority there, I guess. I don't know if I don't not like
Make a wish and do as dreamers do.
I don't not like it, but I definitely don't like it. I think I care for it because it is part of this show, which I do like.
Hear Wishes and the two cresting shooting stars. Come on,
and it evokes emotion. And so that's what it does, but I can't let that trick me into thinking I actually like the song. I don't think I do, and I think outside of it's one of those things outside of being there and watching the performance, it's not something I care to listen to.
I disagree.
Yeah, that's.
I don't agree with that at all.
That's why I'm not that sad that this is going away.
Wishes is a fantastic song. It's a great. I mean, the Spectrum Magic score was a perfect score for an electrical parade. Wishes is a perfect score for a fireworks show, I think.
Can we stop and talk for a moment about what a perfect pair Spectrum Magic and Wishes were? They complemented each other so perfectly. Not even just because Jiminy hosted both, but I just think, like, musically and theme, they just fit each other so well, and it felt like a cohesive, coherent way to end the night at the Magic Kingdom. That parade and fireworks combo was so perfect, and that's kind of why, like, I saw Electrical Parade at Disneyland during this comeback, and it felt right there. It felt like it belonged there, and paired with Remember, because they're both these things about nostalgia, they work really well as a pair, and it reminded me how much I wish that I missed the combo of Wishes and Spectro. But I don't know. There's just something about the two of them together in a night that felt right for that park. I don't know if I think Happily Ever After, Once Upon a Time will kind of share that, even though they're both way too similar to both perform together, but they're going to. Yeah. Anything else anyone wants to say about wishes? Because I mean, I know on these segments we typically go very very much in depth on these things, but with fireworks show, there's honestly only so much you can talk about, and it's not Reflections of Earth where we have this insane, intense backstory about the creation of humankind and its development. Wishes isn't quite that. It's simpler. It's brilliant in its simplicity, but yeah, you see some of those shells.
I think the first time I watched Wishes in early 2004, I remember the rooftop launches of the kind of fanned, the fan out of the fireworks, and that just blew me away.
The Beauty and the Beast segment, I love that so much. Exactly. And they not only the when they launch all 8 and they go straight up, but then it starts doing those sporadic the crisscross.
Yes. Yep.
Launches those gold pillars, and it's just so perfect for that moment. That's the other thing about Wishes that can't be understated is the team knew what pyro to use when. Like there can't be any pyro in that whole show that would need to be switched around. It all fits the scene it's in so perfectly.
And how much of that pyro did they, design themselves or sort of commission specifically for that show? I mean, that's not a lot of that pyro is not stuff you see in a normal fireworks show. I mean, even like New York City's 4th of July, you don't see stuff like that. They either made or had made a lot of that pyro specifically for that show. So the fact is, they envisioned what they wanted, and then they had to go out and create it, and they had to, ensure that what they envisioned was actually something somebody could make.
Yeah. And
so much of that is I was blown back by a lot of the rooftop pyro because it was so close, and then because it launches straight up in sequence or in a fan formation or whatever. It's really that to me was mind-blowing in 2004.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around Nick's comments about the music.
What do you need?
Nick is going to get so much hate mail.
No, I mean, I think I'm sort of understanding, and Nick, tell me if I'm way off base here, but I think when, if I want to just listen to music, to enjoy some music from the parks, I'll probably put on Illuminations more than anything right now.
Okay.
But when I want to see a complete show, I think Wishes is that complete nighttime show, because the music of Wishes was such a perfect framing device for the rest of the soundtrack that when you remove it out of its context, I could see how it might lose a little something.
Yeah, it's probably not homeless. I think you're right. I think it has to be in that moment. I think when they hit the theme at the end again, it has to be with that visual of the castle and those big golden bursts. Like there's no other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I wouldn't listen to the Wishes song at home probably.
Right.
And that's probably
true. But at that
so,
moment, that's what I want to hear, and it's perfect at that moment.
Okay, and that
but it
may
doesn't
be true.
make it less great.
No, maybe not. All I'm saying is I don't like it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to confuse the fact that it works it works. It does its job. That doesn't mean I like it. And I can appreciate it for what it is. And it does evoke emotion during the show because of everything that's working with it. Yes, I mean, you remove a lot of things from what it's part of, and it may not, be the same. But I'm just saying it's not something that I don't find myself humming it afterwards. It's not something that I enjoy on its own. But yes, it does work. It does very much work, and it very much evokes emotion, like I said, and I like it inside the show.
Someone in the chat,
so
get rid of it.
Well, the Banshee, yeah.
The Banshee and someone in the chat now neither of them want you.
Yeah. Well, that
Gabe posted a image that says boo.
Whatever. People love this, but I'm excited for what's next.
It ain't the week to go against Wishes.
Very excited for what's next.
Oh no, and I am too. I mean, we'll get there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a crazy viewpoint, is what I'm saying. I can understand it.
Thank you.
So in 2005, the trees in Town Square and the Hub were removed and replaced with shorter ones to better accommodate viewing of nighttime spectaculars and stage shows.
Yay.
The work was done between January and March of 2005, just prior to the soft debut of Cinderella-bration. Man, what a great show Cinderella-bration was. I'm sure glad we flattened the Hub for it. In fairness, though, it needed to happen. Wishes was getting real hard to watch. And they were getting much bigger crowds for Wishes by that point. So it needed to happen, regardless of Cinderella-bration or not.
Well, plus Wishes was the first show where you really did need to see the castle.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I mean, before Wishes, it didn't matter that there were trees blocking the castle because you didn't need to see the castle.
Yeah.
But Wishes, you need to see the castle to get the full effect of the show, and you couldn't see it from anywhere on Main Street because the trees were blocking it.
Murph Dog in the chat said lasted as long as Splashtacular. No, Cinderella-bration lasted longer than Splashtacular. Remind the world of that. Because that's unfortunate, because I love Splashtacular. Anyway. So yeah, that happened. The Town Square, and I know people still complain about this, and I don't understand why. Like, I know people like the big trees. I honestly thought by then they looked pretty bad anyway. Like, you couldn't see the castle down the street that well anymore, and like I don't know. Like, I never was a big fan of the big trees. I know people like the twinkle lights, but we have them. They're off to the side now and out of the way, which is nice. I don't know. I never understood all the insanity about the Hub trees, but people still go on and on about it.
Yeah, people were crazy when they started that project.
People are still crazy about it. It's still
it was like sacrilegious. But then you look at pictures from, mid to late 70s and early 80s when the trees were small and it looked really great.
Yeah, they grew in way too much. And then you look at Disneyland and you're like, I want to chop down everything in this Hub.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. So as soon as work on Wishes was complete, development began on seasonal versions of Wishes for special events and occasions. The first show they worked on was originally titled Wicked Wishes. During the first few years of the Halloween party, the evening's fireworks show was the original Fantasy in the Sky with the addition of a Halloween-themed villainous finale. Hollow Wishes was created by Disney's Creative Entertainment Division specifically for Mickey's Not-So-Scary Halloween Party as a replacement. The music has a predominantly electronic rock pop instrumentation with much symphonic arrangements and was arranged by Mark Hammond and David Hamilton. The vocals were arranged by Tim Davis, who would then go on to work with Adam Anders and Jimmy Levine in the arrangements of the songs and underscore for the show Glee. Kids, look up the show Glee. It was a big thing for 5 minutes. Come on, Glee was big for like 5 minutes. And then it tanked very quickly. Were you a Glee person? I feel like you were a Glee.
The first couple seasons. Yeah.
Nick seems like a Glee.
All of them. Yeah.
With an original score, additional lighting, new shells, 5 additional launchers on the castle, and additional launchers in the park for the vaunted perimeter fireworks effect, the show premiered as Hollow Wishes, a grim grinning spooktacular in the sky. These have the longest name. In September 2005 at Mickey's Not-So-Scary Halloween Party. The premise of Hollow Wishes is that the residents of the Haunted Mansion, led by the mansion's ghost host, are preparing for a celebration of Halloween. The 999 Happy Haunts called by Madame Leota are the first to arrive as the opening lines of Grim Grinning Ghosts are played, followed by a pop band version. After the ghost host welcomes guests, the mood is set with This Is Halloween from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Then the guests are serenaded with the Spirit's special brand of karaoke, which the script calls Scarioke music. Just a few tunes we've dug up for the occasion. In a medley of Disney's spookiest music. Later, some of Disney's most infamous villains join in, starting with Ursula from The Little Mermaid plopping in on the party and adding her own musical mix to the festivities. Jafar from Aladdin and Oogie Boogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas soon follow, and until 2008, Arriving last, but far from least, is Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty, showing us how Halloween should really be celebrated. And the party ends with the Scream Along grand finale. As I mentioned, 2008, the show was dramatically cut. They lost the Captain Hook, Never Smile at a Crocodile, and Skeleton Dance songs, but then also that Maleficent portion of the end went away too. The show has been operating in that form since 2008. I like Hollow Wishes a lot. It's clearly after this year, I think it's going to be time for it to go away. But I like it. It's very different from Wishes, as it probably should be. But it's very well put together. It's a lot of fun. There's fun music in it. I know a lot of people hate the soundtrack. I think it really fits the party well. It's sort of a weird takeover of the Magic Kingdom by the villains, which is sort of the theme of the Halloween party at times. And I think that makes sense. The villains are a whole different breed. It shouldn't be that big orchestral music. It should be this wackier, zanier stuff. And there's some really fun stuff. And I love like the Sorcery in the Sky reference from Jafar, which is a fireworks show from a whole different park. There's a lot of fun stuff in it. And even I don't like Nightmare Before Christmas. The Oogie Boogie segment is really fun and well done.
Yeah.
And the perimeters are at the right moment. I like Hollow Wishes a lot.
So Hollow Wishes is going away?
Not this year. They have said it is performing this year. I tend to believe by next year we'll have holiday replacement shows.
I really, what I don't like about Hollow Wishes is the name. I really wish they didn't call it Hollow Wishes because it has nothing to do with Wishes.
Yeah.
I mean, it uses all the new technology that they installed for Wishes,
Yeah.
but it has nothing to do with Wishes.
Wicked? Do you think Wicked Wishes was better?
No, it shouldn't have wishes in the name.
The issue is wishes, not the other part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so different from Wishes. It's kind of like with Hollow Wishes, I kind of expect Wishes with a holiday tag.
Yeah.
But it's totally different.
Yeah, and it has a whole different story because it's based around, it's sort of like almost like a villain Halloween party.
Yeah, no,
kind of
it's
thing
great.
going on.
It's a great show. I love the soundtrack. I just wish they didn't call it something related to Wishes because that's not relevant, actually.
Do we know why they decided to slice this up and shorten it?
Money.
Yeah.
It had to be money. There was never anything else. I don't think it was the show was too long because it isn't a huge cut. I mean, I think in the end they cut like a minute and a half.
Well, and also, back in the mid 2000s, the Halloween parties didn't really sell out.
Yeah. And then it's kind of around the time they took off.
Fewer, they didn't have as many people coming to the Halloween parties. They never knew, what their revenue was.
Well, it didn't have its own fireworks show until this. It was Fantasy in the Sky with like a 2-minute tag.
Yeah, so I think the problem was that Halloween parties back then weren't the crazy thing that they are now, where they sell out, and the park is crazy crowded every night. It was more like an e-ticket night where the park was pretty empty.
Yeah, Boo to You was more of a procession. It wasn't really a parade even yet. It was the Halloween party was pretty lame in the beginning.
They wanted to, and Hollow Wishes probably was a fairly expensive fireworks show.
Yeah,
for the number of people that they had in the park watching it.
Got perimeters, and it's possible. I give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe things were running into each other and they needed to keep the fireworks a little shorter, maybe. But I don't know. And I was just mad because I thought those were really fun parts of the show that got cut, but. On September 25th, 2009, Disneyland kicked off their yearly Halloween time promotion. The park introduced a new nighttime fireworks show called Halloween Screams. It's very similar to Hollow Wishes, that they use much of the same soundtrack. However, there are noticeable differences, the most notable being Jack Skellington, voiced by Chris Sarandon, replaced the ghost host as the master of ceremonies, and the inclusion of Zero, his ghost dog, flying over the castle. Pretty neat. A similar show called Disney's Nightmare in the Sky debuted at Hong Kong Disneyland in 2010. So Hollow Wishes, so popular that it was pretty much reused. People haven't asked me which one do you like better. I think Hollow Wishes is still better. Screams is interesting because it's got that big blow up projection bubble thing, which is fun. But yeah, I think Hollow Wishes just because of the perimeters and the setup is a little stronger. But Halloween Scream is still very good.
Nightmare in the Sky is a great name,
isn't it?
For a Halloween fireworks
Hong
show.
Kong got it. So,
yep, that's a great name for a Halloween fireworks show.
Yeah,
much better than Hollow Wishes.
It sounds like your wishes are hollow. Like there's no meaning to them. Like Corliss in the Sky. Moving on. So there was this Halloween show, but then also they then developed a holiday show for Christmas, originally titled Winter Wishes. Do you like this name better? Do you like Winter Wishes? Or is it still bad?
Jason's frozen.
Jason's frozen.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. You're watching Holiday. In the video version, you're watching Holiday Wishes right now. Winter Wishes. It debuted as Holiday Wishes. Celebrate the spirit of the season in November 2005. Another long title. 2005. I love Holiday Wishes. I like Hollow Wishes, but this is my favorite. This is my favorite, the Christmas show. I mean, Christmas is my favorite holiday, but I don't know what it is. There's some really cool. My favorite effect in any fireworks show ever, the Christmas tree. They play "Oh Christmas Tree," the castle turns green, and then those arching, continuous golden shots make it look like a Christmas tree. Pretty great.
Before we go on, can David hear us?
I don't.
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
I thought he was frozen.
Well, no, because I lost my camera too a second ago. I had to reboot my thing, so I wasn't sure if they were. Yeah, no, I love this version. This is. I always like this one much better than the Halloween one. I never had a problem with the Halloween one, and actually always thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But this is the one I always looked forward to watching. If you ask me, honestly, if you ask me, wishes, the Halloween version or the Christmas version, it would be the Christmas version out of the three.
Yeah. I'll talk about the playoff songs for a moment. Hollow Wishes had a playoff song. It has since been cut because here's what happened. So in 2005, no one really remembered Hocus Pocus. No one remembered that movie. It was before millennials and hipsters existed. So the playoff song was "I Cast a Spell on You." Was the playoff song, and it was neat and fun because it was kind of an insider thing. You had to remember Hocus Pocus. And even if you didn't, it was a good playoff song for that show. They have since cut it because now there is the Hocus Pocus Villain Spelltacular, which uses the song 8,500 times, so you don't need it. So now poor Hollow Wishes doesn't have a playoff song anymore. That being said, Holiday Wishes has a playoff song, and it's wonderful. And I love it. And it's a children's choir and this woman singing, and the use of the music, I know it's out of place, but the use of the music from what's the movie? I can't think of it. Polar Express.
Oh yeah.
That song is seemingly made for the show. The spirit of the season. It works so well. Holiday Wishes is such a perfect show, I think. And that's, I love Wishes to death, but I think this is the one I'm going to be the saddest to see go when it does, just because I don't know, it's so perfect.
So do you get it again this year, Tom, or do you know?
It's already advertised for this year, so
Okay.
I think we definitely have Hollow Wishes and Holiday Wishes this year.
At least one more season.
Yeah, if not another, we'll see what happens. But
so what do you think they would make? Do you think they'd make spin-offs of
same thing they did
Happily Ever After?
Same thing they did with Wishes.
Yeah.
They made new shows. I think they have to.
Well,
It'll be expected.
yeah.
Projection mapping and lasers, and like Happily Ever After is going to turn. And we could talk about this at the end. Happily Ever After is going to turn up the volume a whole hell of a lot. We've got new spotlights and new lasers, and we got projection mapping, and we've got a whole lot more going on than ever before. Things are going to change drastically come Friday. So
kind of like Wishes, though, they're not going to be kind of just, you don't think there'll be tags or spin a little
No.
bit of a version
they will
of
have
those
to,
just
they
be
will
new
have to make
shows
new shows
with the same kind of technology that's being used in Happily Ever After.
They have to,
utilize that technology
because they had to do it with Wishes.
Yeah.
Wishes debuted, and then they were like, "Oh man, we can't do this fantasy in the sky with a villain's tag anymore. Like, people expect much more than this. They can see a better show when they don't pay ridiculous party ticket pricing. Like, we got to make this worth it."
Right.
So, holiday. I love holiday Wishes. Let's jump. We're going to jump back to Disneyland for a moment. Using what was learned from Wishes, Steve Davison moved on to tackling a new spectacular for Disneyland's then upcoming 50th anniversary. On May 5th, 2005, Remember, Dreams Come True debuted, even utilizing the theme song from Wishes in it and portions of Wishes.
The song that Nick hates, Remember.
Yes. While not larger in scale than Wishes overall, the show is longer and contains theme park music from 5 decades of Disneyland's existence, so it automatically became a guest favorite. You're seeing in the video show the current version of Remember that we filmed in March. That's the version that now has projection mapping as a part of it, which is pretty neat. And of course, all these videos you've seen so far tonight, except Believe We didn't have, all these other videos are on our YouTube channel. You can go watch them anytime. So, plug for us. Remember, I didn't go to Disneyland for the first time until 2009. And when I did, they were unfortunately running Magical in the summer when I was there. So my first 2 trips in that summer, I was forced to see Magical. Magical's fine. Magical has the song from Splashtacular, which makes me very happy. But as far as pyrotechnics and overall show, Magical was not magical. Dumbo flying is cool, but so I finally booked a trip 2011. Finally decided we were going to go in the winter just to see Remember. Remember was the main goal of the trip. And I was absolutely not disappointed in that decision. Remember is an awesome show. It's basically Wishes with a theme park fan's dream come true soundtrack. If a Disney fan was asked, a park fan was asked to put together a soundtrack for a fireworks show, this would be it. References to things long gone, the original Submarine Voyage, Adventure Through Inner Space, Country Bears, all of these very old things, even though quickly referenced, are there. The Electrical Parade, and it's a really perfect show. And the big sequences with pirates where there's basically a battle going on with all the cannon fire, and Mansion with the stretching room launches, those green launches in the hub area that are all around you. It's a really fantastically put together show. Nick, have you ever seen Remember?
I don't. When did this run till?
Oh, geez.
No, I don't think so.
Mostly just winter seasons.
Okay. No.
Fall. Yeah.
No.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it is a great show. I saw it end of May 2005, so right after it debuted.
You saw the original.
It was, yeah. I mean, that was an amazing show.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, I seen Wishes the year before, and seeing Remember, I'm like, this is what a Disney fireworks show is all about.
Yeah, seemingly made for us. Like it
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's Disneyland's
With all the
50th, and
audio.
it basically was just this big love letter to Disneyland and all this history, but also like with all that Wishes tech, which for us, Wishes probably might be the better show, but I think all of us can't pick it over Remember because what Remember
Because we're parks people.
Yeah, and I
Remember
mean,
is for parks
nothing's
people.
going to be cooler
Wishes-
to us than those ride related segments in Remember.
Yeah, Wishes is for movie people, and Remember is for parks people.
Yeah,
that's basically it. And we're mostly parks people. So
how great is that
Absolutely.
new version of Remember? By the way,
Look, they're doing the pirate scene right now in the video.
Jason, how well did that hold up 12 years later? This updated version.
Still phenomenal.
Yeah.
Still phenomenal.
What does that say when you still like that better than Disneyland Forever?
That's what a Disney Parks fireworks show should be.
So yeah, that's Remember. Meanwhile, that year, Wishes was duplicated in a way for Disneyland Resort Paris. With all of the pyro launches having to be in the park, the show utilized cutting edge at the time projection system to create a multimedia experience with Sleeping Beauty Castle. Think of it as a PowerPoint presentation in a very large scale, because they are like just basically still images, and it's so wacky. There's big still images that just kind of move around on the castle, and all these weird effects, because it was all they could do in Paris at the time, and then it's all just low level fireworks. It's not a bad show, but it's really weird to watch original Wishes and then watch this weird Parisian version. It's just go find it on YouTube. It's out there. It's weird, man. Do we have Michael? We have an image of Wishes in Paris. We have a photo. You can pull it up.
It's sad how many times we've had to say that about Disneyland Paris.
Yeah, right. It's a story. The story of the existence of Disneyland.
Something is
Paris.
weird over in Paris.
Something they took this great thing and they made it weird. Welcome to Disneyland Paris.
Welcome to Paris. Yep.
Michael's still trying to find that image. Let's see if we find it. Where is it? There it is.
There it is.
All right, put it up. There we go. So you can see there, not only them, or when they have that weird hub thing, that big coin in the middle of the hub. Yeah. That's gone. Isn't it a stage now or something?
Yeah, it's a huge stage. It's enormous.
I don't know if maybe they took that down for, I think it came down eventually. I think it's back to being a hub again.
Oh, that would be nice.
I don't remember. I don't know. I've never been to Paris. Girlfriend's been to Paris. I haven't been to Paris. But anyway, yeah, you see like lasers. This is this is actually after the show. But yeah, they used a lot of laser effects and stuff too. Pretty neat. But not as good as regular Wishes, obviously. But best they could do at Paris.
It's the Weird Wishes.
The Weird Wishes. That was actually a rejected name for Hollow Wishes. Weird. Everybody watch Weird Wishes. Weird Wishes is also what happens on OBT. People make weird wishes.
My lord.
Anyway, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about what I think is the greatest fireworks show I have ever seen in my lifetime, which may change on Friday. We'll see what happens. In 2006, a new show was developed for the Magic Kingdom and a new party, Mickey's Pirate and Princess Party. The new show was called Magic, Music, and Mayhem, a name that seemingly has nothing to do with pirates nor princesses. Oh, we just saw the script. Thanks for showing everyone the script. Anyway, Magic, Music, and Mayhem. The show used effects never seen before, including the appearance that Cinderella Castle was being attacked by a pirate ship via large explosions on the castle. The effect was so convincing that a guest called 911 to report that the castle had exploded and was now on fire. It's a real thing that happened.
It's pretty amazing.
So this was for the Pirate and Princess parties, very short-lived. They only happened a couple of years, select dates. Let me tell you, we went to a Pirate and Princess party, and the fireworks show was so good that we bought tickets to a second Pirate and Princess party during that vacation, and we left after the fireworks. We basically went just for the fireworks the second time. They were that amazing.
That and the fireworks were what made those parties fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great party. There was a great parade, but the fireworks were, as you explained, the fireworks were worth the cost of admission.
Yeah.
No question about it.
In June 2010, the show actually ended up replacing Wishes during regular park hours as part of the Summer Nightastic promotion. And they were retitled the Summer Nightastic Fireworks Spectacular, or as Jason has always referred to them,
Snuffs.
Snuffs.
Is the acronym would be Snuffs.
Snuffs.
So brief description of the show. Hosted by the fairy godmother of Cinderella fame with 3 good fairies, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather from Sleeping Beauty, along with the traditional appearance of Peter Pan's resident pixie Tinkerbell. The show features music from several Disney movies, including The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, but the invasion of pirates led by Peter Pan villain Captain Hook wreaks havoc with music from Pirates of the Caribbean, both the theme park attraction and the feature films, until the fairies, with the help of King Triton, Ariel's father, and Sebastian, stave off the rebellion by the Buccaneers and request the fairy godmother to settle the argument of Flora and Merryweather's continuing dispute since the finale of Sleeping Beauty, if it should be pink or blue. Note that during the Summer Nightastic promotion, King Triton and Sebastian were not featured. Under the Sea portion of the show was then introduced by the fairy godmother. Also during that time, the fairy godmother's opening spell and some of Captain Hook's dialogue were changed to reflect Summer Nightastic. There were some very forced lines about how wonderful summer nights could be because the show was reworked for it. But very happy it was. Glad it came back because it's sure as hell deserved to come back. And it's really a shame we never got to see this again because I love this show. This is the first Nighttime Spectacular to use the music from Pirates of the Caribbean films, a score that was meant for fireworks and nighttime shows. And since then, World of Color, it's also a blockbuster segment. Yep. But in this, not only that, but sort of recreating that, the pirate battle sequence from Remember, but using this music and then also adding this incredible pyro on the castle that would have led you to believe that maybe a cannonball or explosive had hit the castle. And you go watch this video we're showing you now. If you go watch the Summer Nightastic Fireworks Spectacular on our YouTube, when those pyro go off on the castle, you will hear a lot of people audibly go, audibly in disbelief, thinking the castle has been blown up. That's how good that effect was. You hear this big boom, and then smoke is coming out from the middle of the castle. Really great. But beyond that, there was so much fun stuff in this. The battle between pink and blue on the castle, which then culminates in the end. The 180 perimeters go one side pink and one side blue as they argue.
Yeah.
I love everything about this show. This, to me, again, I still think the best fireworks show I've ever seen at a Disney park. I don't know. Does anyone argue that?
It's the best I've ever seen at the Magic Kingdom. I know that for sure.
Where do you think you've seen a better show?
One.
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I don't know. I don't. That's why it's hard to say ever in the Disney park.
There's some other good ones. I think about. I know a lot of people hated on Frozen Summer Fun.
Oh, that was really good.
I really like the Frozen fireworks. The original.
That was a good show.
The original Symphony in the Stars. The Star Wars show.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is still, I think.
But
I can't think of anything I liked more than this
because it's Star Wars.
Yeah, no, I understand that. This show's just so good.
No, that might be swaying me from saying that this is the best. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that's better than this. And I think whereas Wishes, brought in childhood nostalgia and that sense of wonderment, this was all about adventure. And you left this fireworks show just cheering and wanting to go do your own adventure from this.
But even still keeping that Disney nostalgia, I thought the way they put together the idea, Captain Hook leading the pirate attack, but then using the music from Pirates of the Caribbean,
right,
was so perfect because it kept it all in the realm of that fantasy, the fantasy characters, but then used the right music from live action Pirates, and it's somehow seamlessly. You wouldn't think on paper that's going to work, but it was such a good sequence.
I remember going specifically to watch this from outside the parks and just being in such awe of this that I eventually had to buy a ticket to go and watch it from inside the park. And I did buy that ticket really specifically based on the fireworks and wanting to see that up close and in the park and experience that there. And I wasn't disappointed. I was very disappointed by the party in general, but
you didn't want to go to Royal Guard School with Jasmine? No.
But but being able to see these fireworks, it definitely made that time at the Magic Kingdom memorable.
Right now in the video show, you're seeing perimeters go off. There was a lot of perimeters in this show too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
This-
I would sit here and just watch this while we're in the middle of this segment. I'm getting so caught up in just the pyro, which you could see. Like it always just felt like there was a lot more pyro going off through this show.
Well, this is the
end, but man, it was just
it was so much. It
such
really
a packed
was.
show.
Michael, did you find the pirate attack segment?
It's in the middle there. We're gonna find it.
He was trying to
I
find
think
it. I don't know if he found it.
Here. This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see the castle's all red, and there's rooftop stuff going on. But then, towards the end, Captain Hook's gonna take 2 shots at the castle. No, leave it. Let it run here, because they're coming. That's why we're looking at the castle now. They're the shots. See, so the shots would fire towards the castle. There's this explosion, and then look at these clouds of smoke
coming off
the castle. Look at that.
Fireballs coming off. Yeah.
Look at it. It's just amazing. I hope there's something like that in Happily Ever After. That'd be great. We'll see what happens on Friday. But yeah, that's awesome. The next show, debuting in 2008, the typical Fantasy in the Sky 4th of July show was replaced on both coasts. The 2 shows were replaced with Celebrate America. 2 previews of the show were held on June 29th and July 1st, 2008. Show at the Magic Kingdom uses all perimeter fireworks sites, giving the 360 effect from inside the park, and more than 1,500 shells are launched during the show. So to give you an idea, we're around 7. We're floating around 700 for Wishes. So 1,500 in Celebrate America, which the video you're going to see in the video show is rightfully so taken from the Polynesian beach, because you get the full effect there of everything going on. A lot of pyro. You look at that. Previously at Magic Kingdom, a special Independence Day version of Fantasy in the Sky was held on July 4th, but in 2008, again, they made this completely new show. During its debut on July 4, 2008, the Disneyland version of the show was canceled 11 minutes into it due to debris falling on Ball Road behind Disneyland from winds. Starting with the 2009 show, Disneyland has performed only roughly half of the scheduled performances of Celebrate America. For some reason, July they have wind, and that's not Santa Ana wind is not in midsummer, is it? I can't remember.
It can be. I mean, it's not really a seasonal thing. It's
is it not?
No, it's local conditions that pop up every so often.
Yeah, it seems specifically July 4th, they always seem to have problems.
Right.
Celebrate America gets canceled a lot out there. Disneyland. So I said they perform half. A shortened 9-minute version of the show is typically shown July 1st through the 3rd there, while the full 15 minutes is shown only on July 4th. In 2013, as part of Limited Time Magic, remember that, kids? The show was performed July 1st through the 7th. Yeah, 7th at both the Magic Kingdom and Disneyland. For the Magic Kingdom performances, the 180-degree perimeter was used July 1st and 2nd, and the 5th through the 7th, while the full 360 degrees were used July 3rd and 4th. At Disneyland, the full display was shown on July 4th only, while the remaining performances, again, were that 9-minute abbreviated version. This is an okay show. Pyrotechnic-wise, it's phenomenal. I don't particularly like the soundtrack, but I mean, maybe that makes me a bad American. I don't know.
No, it's actually a pretty boring soundtrack.
Yeah, I don't know.
I usually like if I go to this one, I kind of like watching it from the Polynesian and watching it out there, and they have the
that's where you want to
water pageant, and there's the music obviously, and you have all the fireworks out in front of you. It's a good show from there. And I'll do that a lot of times on maybe the 3rd or something like that. And but the 4th I want to spend inside Epcot, like we talked about before.
Yeah, Michael, I don't know if you could jump. I assume electrical water pageants towards the end of this video. I could be wrong. Let's see if it's there. It is. You just go right there, Michael. There we go. Look at that. That's the reason to see this show. Electrical water pageant underneath with the flags and stars and stripes and the pyro going up over it. That's my favorite. Love that so much.
And you can't see that from the Magic Kingdom, so
You can't. So Poly's where you want to be.
yep.
All right, so we're going to move on to Disneyland Forever. In 2015, Disneyland premiered a new nighttime spectacular called Disneyland Forever as part of the Diamond 60th anniversary celebration. The show was for, yes, we are skipping over Magical. It doesn't play a role in our story. No budget cut fireworks show for us. The show was the first to use projection mapping on multiple surfaces, namely Sleeping Beauty Castle, It's a Small World, Main Street, and the Matterhorn. It's a Small World had been using projection mapping before this, as it was installed a few years before for the Magic, the Memories, and You. And so it had been done before, but the video you're going to see is just some of the projection testing on Main Street, which really needed it. This show was such a pain to go see. It was real hard to get a good spot for. But I never ended up standing on Main Street. We ended up walking down Main Street one night while it was going on, and I got to see the projections. Like, all right, I feel good about it. But anyway, this show is now obviously we call Believe the first of the modern fireworks spectaculars. But this is the first of, I guess, this generation, in that it utilizes projection mapping, spotlights, flamethrowers, and then a whole lot of projection mapping, spotlights, flamethrowers, and pyro, low level and high level. And this is kind of the road we've gone down. Star Wars: A Galactic Spectacular, very similar in a lot of ways, has the big fireball effects, has the spotlights, has all that stuff. And now we're going to talk about Happily Ever After in a few moments. All of those same things are coming into play here, but Disneyland Forever, not the most positively received fireworks show. And is that simply because of Remember? I don't know, but I liked Disneyland Forever, but I don't know. There was something about it always seemed off. And I still don't know what it was.
I thought it was awful. I didn't like it at all.
But I can't. I sit here and I can't tell you why.
Part of, I think, I didn't know this was a constant problem. Part of what I didn't like about it was the overcrowding. The couple times I tried,
it was a nightmare to go see.
It was a nightmare, and it wasn't comfortable, and it wasn't a pleasant experience at all. Trying to view this fireworks show, and I didn't remember I had very limited experience at Disneyland, but I didn't remember that in my previous trips trying to see the previous fireworks show. When I went to see this, I guess it was 2015, last expo, right? Would have been when I would have seen it. It was a horrible experience, and I don't know. I never felt comfortable in there. I don't think I ever found a really good spot. I think I saw it once from in the hub area and once from back on Main Street to get two different kind of experiences of it, and I didn't really care for either one of it. The projections, I thought it'd be cool. I thought I'd like this. This is right down my alley. Like new cool stuff.
The announcement, we were all really excited.
Didn't really like it.
And then people saw it and everyone just kind of like put their arms up. And it's a shame because I really liked the music a lot.
Yeah. Oh, the music was great.
Yeah.
I feel maybe it didn't mesh together. It didn't come together.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot of cool technology thrown at us, but it didn't mesh together to make a great experience.
Snowed in the Frozen section.
Yeah.
And I think that was my issue with it. Was I saw it maybe half a dozen times. I can't tell you a scene from it that I really remember.
Yeah. The only thing coming to my head is the Matterhorn turning into a beehive. That's the only thing that's even coming into my mind right now. I can't think of anything else. And I think I saw it quite a few times, and I can't remember much of anything else that happened. I remember the Frozen segment. I remember it snowing. That's about it. Now, Jason, I know you weren't a big fan of this either.
I wasn't. Yeah. I mean, I think just really, Remember was so good. And it was the 50th anniversary, and it really was made for park fans. And I think for the 60th, I kind of expected something like that, and it just wasn't. Plus, you couldn't. I mean, it was hard to see all the projection mapping and everything up and down Main Street.
Yeah.
So you couldn't get the full effect of the show.
Yeah.
Really. And I think that was a big detraction because you wanted to see the whole show. You wanted to see everything that was cool about it, and you just couldn't do it. So, I mean, they tried to be able to spread out the crowds all through Main Street, but that didn't really work. And then, you missed a lot of the cool projection mapping. So it was kind of a show that you couldn't get the full effect of no matter how hard you tried.
Someone in the chat brought up Disney Dreams, which I guess is a valid point. That show did debut before Disneyland Forever. What was that? 2012, because that would have been the 20th of Paris. The show used projection mapping, but then also they installed fountains in the moats in front of the castle and they used spotlights, and still low level. I think I compare Forever. The reason we're using Forever in this segment is it's more akin to the Magic Kingdom shows. Like Paris show is a whole different thing because they don't have high level big launches. They literally don't have that. So it's different. So we don't have fountains and we're not doing only low level. So it's kind of a different thing. It is where a lot of that stuff first really comes into play, especially the projection mapping and lasers and stuff like that really start getting heavily used there. But that show's still kind of this weird amalgamation of a fireworks show and World of Color. And kind of they had a strange Parisian baby. And so, not that any Parisian baby is not weird, but send that hate mail. They come out with a wine glass and a cigarette, right? Like Baby Herman with a French accent and a beret. So I mean it's fair to bring up Disney Dreams, but I think Disneyland Forever is really the first in this current line of shows. I think even the Disney Dreams replacement show, which just debuted, is still even more along the lines of Disneyland Forever, and in a lot of ways is being received as such, less positively. So, I think we'll stick with Forever for the analogy we're going for. But you should look up Disney Dreams because it's magnificent and it was a great show, and it's a shame it's gone. And hopefully it'll come back after the 25th. So, all right. We weren't done talking about Forever yet. Searchlights. I want to talk about the searchlights for a minute. Those became a big staple. As we said before, those are in Galactic Spectacular now. They are going to be in the new Magic Kingdom show as well. Those searchlights, really big part of the show, and probably the one thing everybody agreed was an awesome addition and was happy about with Forever. But due to budgeting and park overcrowding, the show was retired in September 2016. And since then, they've had Fantasy in the Sky, and they've had their seasonal shows. And then most recently, remember, there is a rumor that Disneyland Forever is coming back, though. Supposedly, they were just testing it. So we'll see what happens with that. But that brings us to now. On February 9th, 2017, it was announced by the Disney Parks blog that Wishes would be presented for the last time on May 11th, 2017 at the Magic Kingdom to be replaced by Happily Ever After on May 12th. The press release, it's no secret that every Once Upon a Time story ends with a Happily Ever After, and beginning May 12th, Walt Disney World guests will discover just how magical and emotional that fairy tale ending can be with the newest, most breathtaking fireworks show in the history of the Magic Kingdom, Happily Ever After. In addition to fireworks, the stunning new nighttime extravaganza will feature lasers, lights, and projections more than ever before, and more than any Disney show ever before. Happily Ever After is also an entirely new kind of Disney storytelling, one that will take guests on an inspiring journey filled with heart, humor, and emotion. Guests become part of the journey themselves as they follow their favorite Disney characters on an adventure to seek out their destiny, face adversity, and ultimately fulfill their dreams on the road to their Happily Ever After. The 18-minute long spectacle will feature scenes from classic Disney films such as The Little Mermaid and Aladdin to modern blockbusters Moana and Zootopia. Cinderella Castle will become part of the story itself, with dazzling projections bringing the heartfelt Disney stories to life on and around the iconic 18-story tall castle. Quasimodo from the Hunchback of Notre Dame swings from turrets. Yeah, they actually put Hunchback in a show. It's amazing. Woody and his pals from Disney Pixar's Toy Story recreate the castle out of toys. and Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty envelopes the castle in her signature green flames. The story begins with scenes of fantastic dreams full of hope, wonder, magic, and light. Disney villains soon become part of the story, attempting to squash those beautiful dreams and forcing the heroes to fight for what they believe in. Overcoming their fears, the heroes triumph and are celebrated with spectacular fireworks. Spoiler alert, because, yeah, who would have thought the good guys win at a fireworks show? Because no Magic Kingdom fireworks show is complete without a little bit of magic, Tinkerbell will still fly across the night sky, reminding guests that with a little faith, trust, and pixie dust, everyone can find their own happily ever after. Characters and scenes from more than 25 Disney films will be featured, enhanced by more than 50 choreographed spotlights. 50. And you're seeing those 50 right now in the video show, and it's ridiculous and amazing. And I think this is why everyone's way too excited for this show. Brilliant lasers are also going to be there. Plenty of awe-inspiring fireworks. Paired with an emotional score, the new spectacular will drive the message home that anyone can grab hold of their dreams and make them come true, as long as they are brave enough to listen to what guides them and bold enough to pursue their destiny. The score for Happily Ever After was recorded by a 75-piece orchestra in London, includes tunes from movies including Beauty and the Beast, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Jungle Book, and more. Happily Ever After, of course, will be presented nightly starting Friday. Some other things we've seen: making brand new hand-drawn animation that's going to appear on the castle. This new theme song, which is already stuck in everyone's head. Everybody's already talking about it. This has all the makings of the nighttime spectacular that Walt Disney World has deserved for a long time and has been missing. And we thought maybe we were going to get it with Rivers of Light, and it's kind of been mixed reviews on that. I don't want to be too optimistic, but I think we are in store for the greatest nighttime spectacular we've ever seen.
I mean, it's certainly looking that way just from the small snippets we've seen. So
yeah, I mean, the video they put out last week, that kind of the first time we see all the effects together,
right,
for the first time, is, even though it's like 3 seconds of everything all together, it's unbelievable. And the music on top of it, and then new hand-drawn animation, and the projections look great, and it's 18 minutes long, and they promised it's more pyro than Wishes, even though it's projection heavy. This has everything about it screams to me that we're going to fall in love with this immediately on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should. It's more pyro than Wishes, but it's also stretched out over a much longer period of time. So
yeah, but that's good. I mean, it doesn't have to be every second if you're going to promise eventually more pyro, and you're also going to have all these other effects that we didn't have in Wishes. I'm willing to come along for the journey.
I just hope that people aren't going in expecting like a Wishes with even more pyro, because that could be a disappointment, is if you're expecting more pyro in the same amount of time as Wishes.
See, I think it's not going to be Galactic Spectacular. Galactic Spectacular is very light on pyro, and the complaint is, it's too much projection. It's just projection.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what they're going for here. I think the projections are there because they have to be now. I think it's expected. But I think they are still putting together a big scale Magic Kingdom fireworks show. I think the problem was they looked at Wishes and they sat there and they go, all right, well, since Wishes, we've embarked on yet another golden age of animation. So now not only do we have all these classics to draw from, then we have the late 80s, early 90s golden age to draw from. Now we have Moana and Zootopia and Frozen and all these other big movies that people are expecting to see. 18 minutes is about the least amount of time we can use to get everything that we need to. The other thing is also they knew Electrical Parade was going away. So this is most definitely the thought process is we're not going to have a nighttime parade for a very long time. This is the singular nighttime spectacular of the Magic Kingdom. It has to be grandiose, bigger than anything before, and has to sustain everyone who wants to see a nighttime spectacular of the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, that's very true. This has to take the place of a nighttime parade and Wishes.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, it's got a pretty high bar
I
that
think
it's got to
they
achieve.
do it though.
I hope.
I hate to say it, but based on everything we've seen so far, I would be incredibly surprised if we all don't walk out Friday just blown away. And I think again, Wishes set the bar so high and is so beloved that they know they have to decimate Wishes on Friday. They have to. They don't have an option.
Yeah.
And there was one scary moment. Michael Young, who was the head on Rivers of Light, is the guy at the helm of Happily Ever After, which scares me. But I think there's enough people involved with good track records that I think we're going to be okay.
I don't think anything.
There's no pyro in Rivers.
There's a lot of things.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, we've never seen what he's able to do with pyro. So,
yeah, I mean, Rivers had so many constraints around it that I'm not.
Yes,
I mean, I'm hoping that that's not a true indication of his skills.
Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of the other recent fireworks shows have not been well received. Someone in the chat brought this up. The Shanghai show is not, Ignite the Dream is not fantastic, but those people don't really have anything to base it on. It's still a strong show. It's just very IP heavy and it jumps around a lot. It's Star Wars mixed with animation and pirates, and it's very weird. We, I think, have the blessing. This is where the blessing of 4 parks comes in. Star Wars is out of the equation because of Hollywood Studios. Thank God for Hollywood Studios. But then also we have so much representation of a lot of other things like Frozen and things like that it sounds like this is going to be a much more focused show than Disneyland Forever or the Ignite the Dream or even the new Paris show, which is Illumination, not to be confused with Illuminations at Epcot, even though it has the same name. I don't think this will suffer the same problems. I think this is a whole different beast. At least I hope. But based on everything we've seen and heard, this seems to be a whole different beast. I think, I think it'll be better. It'll be better. And then someone asked if I thought it'll be better than Reflections of Earth. I think that's relative. I prefer Disney characters in my nighttime show. I think it's like a daytime parade. I don't want Tapestry of Nations because that's not what a Disney parade is to me. A Disney parade is characters. And while a Disney attraction certainly doesn't have to be IP based to be fantastic, and that's one of the great things about Disney attractions, I think parades and fireworks, to me, I want that fantastic movie music, and I want those characters. And that's what nighttime shows are to me. And that's why I think already I could say I will like Happily Ever After more than Illumination. And Illuminations is fantastic. I love Illuminations. Don't get me wrong, but
it's also apples and oranges, I really think.
Yeah, they're two different beasts.
They're trying to evoke different emotions.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
But what I want out of a nighttime show is Happily Ever After and Wishes.
Yeah, I mean, I hate ever
and
saying
not Rivers of Light.
Because you asked me, like you asked me about which show if I didn't pick the Pirate Princess Music Mayhem, whatever the name of that one is, as the best fireworks show I've ever seen in a Disney park. I mean, a nighttime show, I still go with Illuminations, but I mean that's not as far as pyro goes.
See, my top nighttime show is World of Color.
No, I understand.
Original
that.
World of Color above all.
I know you do.
Forever and always.
Yeah.
And then Spectro.
But, wow. Yeah, I mean, then if we're going nighttime entertainment, yeah.
Well, we are. I mean, when you talk nighttime show, you put parades and Phantasmic and World of Color. We're going fireworks only. I'm going Magic Music Mayhem.
But the problem is, Illuminations just
Paint
has
the Night's up there too. Yeah,
has a theater and a musical score that's just hard to beat as far as and that's why it's hard to say that this fireworks show can be better or worse than something in a different park like that.
Someone said they're worried about IPs without songs in them, such as Zootopia. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's definitely music in Zootopia. Number one, Try Everything from Shakira, which is wonderful, and what I'm praying is in the show.
That would be nice.
But secondly, they also have a really good score in that movie. I think about the music when they first go to Sahara Square, and like there's a lot of really fun music in that. Big Hero 6, that's definitely the one I'd worry more about because what do they have? They have Are we gonna have a Fallout Boy song in Happily Ever After? Is that gonna happen? Because that's the only song I remember from that movie is Immortal. Yeah. But we'll see. Big Hero, they also could just appear momentarily. Don't think there necessarily will be a song from each of these. Like, don't expect Hunchback to have a 2-minute segment. Expect Hunchback to show up for 20 seconds, ring a bell, and leave. So, and same, I expect Baymax to show up, fly away, and that will be Baymax, and that's the end of Big Hero 6. That's my expectation. But we'll see what happens. But this is neat because I think Happily Ever After is the next evolution. It's tying everything together. That they've learned over time. There are the rooftop launches that were a staple of Wishes, and the projection mapping, which has become a staple of so many other things. The spotlights, which were the one saving grace, I think, of Disneyland Forever. The lasers, which I think I'll credit World of Color and Disney Dreams to the lasers because there's so much laser in that show. Happily Ever After really is, unlike Rivers of Light, which I don't think was everything they've learned. I think it was a handful of things they learned from World of Color. This show really seems to be going for, here are the absolute best things we've done in the last 7 years. Yeah, 7. And we've put them all into one show at the most visited theme park on Earth.
So, question for you here. This is the way a lot of things seem to be going with technology, and the way things are, I guess, more computer-based and maybe more easily changeable. And we saw in the projection shows how they have interchangeable pieces. You can pull a piece out, put a piece in. Do you see that with this fireworks show?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it'll happen at some point.
Or they could pull out a movie, put in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the brilliance of it. And that's what, when World of Color debuted, that was the first thing they talked about was we could do this. We could change scenes. And we're going to do this. And how often did that happen with World of Color? And I just kept thinking about how fresh does this keep this show? And I think about it, and I really, and it, like, I think about the excitement of seeing those new scenes in World of Color and how cool it was to see new things, but then still get those moments you wanted. Like, yeah, the pirate sequence is still there, but then, oh, now we got this awesome Brave sequence. And now, and World of Color is great, but now, oh man, there's this whole Tron thing going on at the end and everything's glitching. And that's what's great about World of Color is World of Color was fresh constantly, but still had all the stuff you expected in that show. And that's what's great about this now is you can, instead of just making a whole new show, Happily Ever After can drop and add and bring back sequences all the time. And I hope they'll do it.
Do you think they might do it seasonally, or do you think it'll be
it'll be when movies come out?
Movies, yeah.
Yeah, because that was always the reason for World of Color's change.
Right. Well, the projection shows did it kind of seasonally at times.
They did. They had seasonal changes, but then they also had movie changes. Like Frozen came in.
True.
Brave came in. A lot of those were not original to those shows. They got added as the show changed over time. But you're right, there were seasonal editions also. I'm not sure they're still going to do the seasonal things. I could be wrong because Once Upon a Time doesn't have
it doesn't
seasonal bits. Yeah. So we'll see, but it should be a fully customizable show. Is there anything else anyone wants to say about Happily Ever After? I mean, obviously we'll be talking a lot more about it once it actually.
I just want to say that, going back to the beginning of where we were looking at how the show kind of stayed very much in the same format for about 40 years. And now it's almost they're trying to catch up and put everything in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's true with the fireworks shows. It's just a very long period of the same thing. You're talking 48 years, something like that. 40 something years of the same thing. And then, I mean, we've just been in this rapid succession of technological advancement in these shows. The last, again, it's 45 years of the same thing. And then 17 years where we've just been on a tear as far as nighttime technology. But I think a big part of that is projection technology and lighting. keep changing. Pyrotechnics really haven't changed a ton since Wishes. Like, yeah, there's a couple of new shells we've seen here and there, but nothing in a real big way. But lighting and projection, we are seeing new stuff constantly, and that's what's prompting them to keep updating the nighttime show.
Yeah, I think Wishes is 14 years old at this point. There's a lot of new technology that exists since Wishes was created.
Yeah.
And
mostly
it looks
in the
like
realm of lighting and projection.
Right. Yeah, not just fireworks, but altogether. And so I think Happily Ever After is going to take advantage of everything that it possibly can in terms of the new technology, and still include some great fireworks as well. So I think it's going to be great. I certainly hope it is. The last nighttime spectacular Disney World debuted wasn't quite as spectacular as we hoped it would have been. And so I think Happily Ever After it's gonna do the Magic Kingdom proud, as it needs to.
Yeah.
There's one more thing that I want to mention.
Good.
And this was back when you were talking about what's the best fireworks show you've ever seen, and it sort of comes down to Remember versus Magic Music and Mayhem. And there's one thing that Disney World has that we don't have, and we still don't have. And to me, it's one of the most...
You said Disney World.
What?
You said Disney World. You mean Disneyland?
Oh. There's one thing that Disneyland has that we don't have. And to me, it's still one of the most amazing and awe-inspiring things that I see at Disneyland fireworks shows. And that's the 3-wire trapeze system for Dumbo and Tinkerbell, where it's not just a straight shot down from the castle to Tomorrowland. It goes back and forth and up and down, and to see that after seeing Tinkerbell fly straight at the Magic Kingdom for so many years, the first time I saw that at Disneyland, I was blown away.
Yeah, the problem is we can't do it
because there's no mattress.
No,
we can do it. No, we can do it,
but we can't set it up behind the castle. Because we don't have the matter, because they have the Matterhorn and it's right behind the castle line. We run the line from the castle, so where are we gonna have her fly back and forth from Tomorrowland Terrace? Like in Storyline, did she pick up an order of chicken tenders and then fly back to the castle? Like I don't know what
chicken breast nuggets.
Yeah.
And
no,
Ken's Honey
tenders. They have chicken tenders at Tomorrowland Terrace now.
Oh, but they still don't have Ken's Honey Dijon.
No, but they're buffalo chicken tenders, so it doesn't matter.
But in any case, I don't think we have to necessarily use it the same as Disneyland does. In other words, it could start at the castle and go to somewhere else.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to go behind the castle like at Disneyland. I
they
just think
need
that
to have other characters here too, because they've had Nemo, Zero, and Dumbo, which we only had Tinkerbell.
And the problem with the problem that I have is that if you blink, you've missed Tinkerbell. But at Disneyland, that character that goes back and forth and up and down is in the show for a fairly long period of time.
Comes back.
Yeah, so it's not like you're going to miss her the first time and never see it. Yeah. And to me, that's such an awesome part of the show that I'm glad it's a fair amount of time in the show. Because it really is cool. And although Tinkerbell is cool and awe-inspiring, it's kind of the same thing every time, and it's not the most special thing anymore.
Well, the only redeeming thing about Magical was Dumbo. And I remember the first time I saw that thinking, this is the coolest thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It really looked like Dumbo was flying over the castle, and it made so much sense story-wise. And it was a really magical moment. Now we could argue about how stupid Nemo was, because why is Nemo flying? Even though it was really funny that the Matterhorn was Mount Wanahakalugi, it was kind of silly that there's a fish flying through the air.
But
Zero's
I
cool
think
too.
I think that technology is. I mean, it's not like new technology that they can't do it in Florida. I think it would add a lot.
Logistical problem in the way the wire has to run.
Yeah, I almost get the feeling that they want to skip that technology and wait till we get into the self-guiding drone technology. And
at this point, drone, you might as well wait till you just fly.
Yeah, I agree.
Something up there, right?
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's what they're waiting for.
Sure.
Yeah, and I mean that'll probably be the next evolution. That's pretty much the only thing that's been introduced at a Disney resort that isn't being used in Happily Ever After is drone technology, because we've had Starbright Holidays, as junky as the show was at times. The technology is infinitely cool, and there's a world of possibility. And I think someday in the not too distant future, in a park, we're going to see light up drone things happening. But I guess for Happily Ever After, we're not there. We're not there quite yet. But could always be added. You want those.
Well, if they put Starbright Holidays technology in Happily Ever After, you'd hate it. So it's good that they're waiting.
Well, no, the only reason I hate Starbright Holidays is because you couldn't tell what anything was.
Yeah, right. So
there was a part was like, is that a present? Like, what is that? I don't know what that is.
Do that
that's a bird.
If they do that in Happily Ever After, you're going to hate it because it's going to be
Starbright Holiday should have been renamed Christmas Rorschach Test. What do you see? I don't know.
Rorschach. Look it up, kids.
I think it's and it's not a character on Welcome Back, Kotter either.
Oh, jeez.
Before I make this any worse, we should probably wrap this up. Usually at this point in Back to the Future, we look to the future, but we just did. We looked to Friday. We got a new show debuting Friday, so we already have seen the future, and we talked about drones, which I think everyone's in agreement. That's probably the only thing missing at this point is drones. So,
well, I'm still waiting for the technology they released that turns off everybody's phones during the show, and then I think it'll be a better experience.
Turn off. That'd be great.
Yep.
Or at least tells everyone to stop taking vertical video like an idiot.
Vertical. Stop turning on your flashes.
Oh, everyone's gonna love my video. Oh,
stop holding your iPad.
I can't wait to watch this on my TV at home, which is not vertical.
Yep.
Anyway. All right. Well, I think that's gonna do it. Obviously, Wishes will conclude on Thursday. It will be missed sorely. I don't think there's anyone here who will not miss that show. An important milestone. But I think, unlike a lot of things that have gone away as of late, I don't think anyone disagrees that it's not time. Like this is long overdue.
It is time.
Technology has come a long way. I think we're ready to take the next step at the Magic Kingdom and come into the modern age. Again, we're kind of last one to the dance again, but maybe we'll make up for that by learning from everyone else's mistakes.
That's the hope.
Yeah. All right. So with that, I think we have completed our journey. You can take it away, McFly. Jason. Got a whoosh. Thank you.